Good morning, guys. And it rained last night, and I always love the garden early in the morning just after the rain. It just looks so much fresher, the plants look happier. So I'll just give you a little tour around the progress so far. So on the living wall here, we've got these philodendron micans, which are just flourishing, starting to crawl up the walls here. So they're doing well. And these turtle vines also, usually used as ground cover, but they're growing quite nicely on the wall here. And if you keep them trimmed, they don't get too long, they don't start falling down. And these they just started off as just a few little sprigs that I put into the pockets. And yeah, they've just grown out like this, climbing up the pole there. So they're also very good for kind of providing some cover to the wall. They're soft as well. So the leafy plants, when the new leaves come out, they don't get damaged against these like they do against the edge of some of these ferns. Are quite rough. And some of the philodendrons, when the new leaves come out, if they're rubbing on these, then it does damage the leaves. So they're doing really well on here. What else have we got? So I've moved around a few things. The begonias, they really don't like having their leaves too wet for too long. So I moved some things around because they were getting dripped on. So that should help with some of those. And then up here, our Warraquenum, our Queen Anthurium, has a new leaf starting to come out. If I zoom in, maybe you can see it there. So we'll watch the development of that over the next couple of weeks. It seems to be quite happy. Here on this side wall, this wall doesn't get a lot of sun, gets some kind of evening sun, late afternoon. It's quite cool, shady around here. So some of the plants, particularly it seems like the anthuriums, really quite like it. Our Vichii also up here. This is the smaller Vichii. We've got a larger one on the back, but the small one just opened up a new leaf as well, you see there. So that's doing well. So we've got some empty spaces still on the wall, but this is really to allow other plants to grow up into it. So we've got this one, which is doing very well. It's a philodendron type. We've got another philodendron here. This is a Philodendron Splendid. Just got a new leaf coming out. I like the colors on the backs of these, and when they first open up, they're kind of similar to the Verrucosum or the El Chocos. They're really quite cool. But then obviously as they age, they turn more green in color. So this wasn't doing well originally when I put it here, but it seems to have picked up lately. The same also can be said for this, which is the Melanochrysum. So the Melanochrysum also was not doing great when it was first placed here. I think there was too much kind of growing around it. It was too shady. So I cleared some of the space, and since then it's done a lot better. So that's our newest Melanochrysum leaf. They come out with this beautiful gold color. And then obviously they change off to green as the leaf matures. So we're going to need to put another stick on this soon, because that has basically reached the top of its little pole. So that's something that will need to be added. So again, we'll have to move some things around. Maybe these ferns that are above it will be moved. And then we've got our giant marble pothos here, or golden pothos, which is doing very well here. Some green shield alocasia there growing on the wall. So they're all doing quite splendidly there. Now over here we've got our Philodendron Olympiad. We've got a few of these, but this one is doing probably the best. Just created a new leaf there. There's some bamboo shoots coming out. We have a new leaf just coming out here on our Philodendron Prince of Orange. So this used to be inside the house, probably up until about 6 months ago. And it really wasn't doing well. It was kind of stunted growth in there inside the house. Then we moved it outside to here, and since then it's produced 2 new leaves plus this one. So these were the older leaves that came with it when we first got the plant. The new leaves it was making inside were kind of deformed and it just wasn't happy for whatever reason. But since moving out here, it hasn't made large leaves, but they've been much, much healthier. So all of these philodendrons along this side here are also doing well. The black cardinal also, this was never inside, it's always been here since we got it. This is where it was originally planted. Also has a new leaf coming out. We've got our kind of special begonia here. So this is a begonia, but it looks like a fern. So this is really cool begonia, kind of unique. I'm not sure what species of begonia this one is, but it kind of just hitchhiked with this. It started growing in the pot. So this was put into the ground only a few days ago. It's been in a pot since we got it. I did have a couple of cuttings that they didn't last. So I'm not going to cut it again until it's grown quite a lot larger. And then here, our red Congo just made a new leaf a few weeks ago. It's got another one coming out now. I'm hoping that this new one will not have this discoloration and issues that our previous leaves have had on this. Hopefully it'll be settling in. So moving around to the front here, our Dark Lord is doing really well. It's used to be indoors and it was producing relatively large leaves indoors, but since moving it out here, they've just really gone up in size. They're now really quite big. It's produced 2 new leaves since moving it out, and this is the 3rd one, which I believe is going to be quite large also when it's fully unfurled and matured. So this is going to need another post at some point once it reaches the top of this one. But I think that's going to fill this area really nicely once it gets a little larger. Then planted for ground cover, we've got some Photonias, or otherwise called nerve plants. So these Photonias here, we've got the kind of small ones with the white stripes, some slightly larger ones with red stripes. So they're called nerve plants because the patterning kind of looks like the nerves running around the human body. So typically they're indoor plants, but they do seem to do okay outside, but you can't really have them touching the ground too much. So what we kind of have underneath here is we've got our cocoa cubes, which allows them to spread and grow across the ground, but without being in contact with the soil. So the cocoa cubes provide enough for them to have air running around underneath them. Then here we've got our helemonias, which are spreading, reproducing themselves. This is a Helemonia maggie. We've got a new babies coming out here also. So these are just kind of self-propagating and filling in this space. So they're doing very well there. Now let's go and take a look around the back of the house and see what's going on with the plants around there. So starting at the side here, we took a cutting from our Philodendron Atabapensi and I put that in the ground here, and now it's got its first leaf coming out. So it was a single leaf cutting, but it's done okay. So this area of the garden is very cool, gets some morning sun, but in the afternoon it does get some quite bright, strong sunlight. So I was a little worried that maybe they wouldn't like it too much here, but we planted sufficient taller plants around here, such as these Calathea lutreas. We've got the bamboos behind there. We've got this Rhaphis palm, and they provide enough shade that the plants don't get too hot, even in the afternoons. So that Atabapensi there is doing quite well. It's quite happy there. We got a Royal Queen here, just made a new leaf. So that will climb up this pole. We've got a cutting here from a large Gloriosum that was growing on the wall. So this cutting from the Gloriosum we put here, and I'm hoping that it's going to take root and start producing some new leaves. It does have a shoot there, but nothing coming out of it yet. Then we got our Plough-manii, which is doing splendid here. This is the latest leaf. I believe it's going to have another one coming soon. You can see here's the shoot. So the Plough-manii will fill up this area, and the leaves are starting to upsize now. So these can get quite large. You can see it's already bigger than my hand, but they can get double this size eventually. So that's doing very well. And then we've got a very slow grower. I've got two El Choco Reds, but they're all slow growers. Don't know why, but there it is, our El Choco Red there. Maybe it will grow a little faster once it climbs up out of here and it gets some more sun. I don't know, but there's a pole there for it ready to climb when it gets sufficiently big enough. So moving around here, we got some new flowers just come out on these orchids. We've got our fern tree, which is doing very well here. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 fronds on this, plus another one coming out. There'll be 7. So that's doing really well. And then in the ground here, we've got these different species. I think these are 3 different species, or at least 2 different species of alocasias, which have just self-propagated here. I assume from a rhizome growing underground, and they've popped up here. So I think that'll be a green shield, and I think this is an Amazonia. We also had a green shield as well appear here under there. So the alocasias, they do kind of self-propagate underground. There's another green shield under there, you can see. So they send out rhizomes underneath and self-propagate. Now what we have here is our Zanium, and both leaves that have come out have got this deformation to that corner. I don't know why, but we've got some other shoots, so we'll see how this does. They were covered by there was a leaf from this which was covering it, so maybe it wasn't quite getting enough sun. So I cut one of those leaves yesterday. Now some more light can get into there. I'm hoping that will perk up a little. And way back behind there, then hiding away, we have a glorious. So everything here is doing quite well. This one just keeps on producing new leaf after new leaf. So it's doing very well. There's actually several plants there growing up the same pole. Once I reach the top there, we're going to cut it. This one will do the same. We've got a burley marks there. Also has a pole in place ready for it to climb up. Down here we have our black Beate. It's produced 2 new leaves, I think, since my last video. So it'll be that one, and this one's the latest. And it looks like there's going to be another one coming. So the black Beate is doing very well here. Seems quite happy. Again, it's kind of cool, but it does get some quite bright sun. This was our latest addition to this area, is this fern. So it's not the same as the fern tree, and the fern tree is spiky and will grow into a tree, whereas this one will remain, it's just kind of a giant fern, a low down giant fern, so it'll stay kind of at this level. And you see the latest frond coming out there, and at some point this rubber tree is going to grow up and also provide some nice shade and cover around this area. So here's our lemon and lime rubber tree, Philodendron Gigantum, and hiding away down here is our Spiritus Sancti. So the latest leaf is not doing so well, but it was recently repotted. So I think that new leaf is like that because it's the first one since it was repotted, and usually it does kind of affect them, especially in a young plant like this. And then over here we've got our living wall, which is probably the piece de resistance of everything. We've got a Vicii up there near the top. We've got some large leaves on the glorious, and Up there we got our Gigas, starting to upsize now also. So there we go. That's our latest update. Thanks for tuning in. I'll see you next time.